Williston Mayor Charles Goodman, Bronson Mayor Robert Parton. We have Representative Schoaf. We have Senator Perry, Senator Simon, County Chair Matt Brooks, and we have some other local officials as well. So I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank everyone for their efforts to prepare for what is probably already become a hurricane, but certainly will be by the time it gets to Florida, Hurricane Idalia. We are taking action at the state level to prepare for the storm and for the response, particularly with respect to things like power restoration. We're going to have close to 4,000 linemen stationed in the state of Florida for when this storm hits, and the goal is going to be to send them to where it needs to be for power restoration. This will be a joint effort. We do want the local municipalities and municipal-owned or co-ops to be willing to accept mutual aid from some of the other electrical companies, and the goal is to get the power back as fast as possible. We are fulfilling at the state level requests from the counties, so if you have requests, please send those in. We will get those turned around. As we get into tomorrow afternoon, it may be the case where we start to see some nasty weather as the hurricane starts to get closer and closer, so there will be a limit as to when those will be due. So if you do now, you have a great chance to get that fulfilled without any problems. But contact Florida Division of Emergency Management if you need more resources. I have been in contact with the White House as well as FEMA. They have approved our request for a pre-landfall disaster declaration. I was just in Pinellas County meeting with local officials, and they have issued some evacuations for their barrier islands, and I think you should anticipate that. I know that as well for the coastal areas. The people that are in very vulnerable areas on the West Coast, you likely are under or will be under in order to evacuate. You don't need to evacuate far. You don't need to go hundreds of miles away. You don't need to try to outrun the storm. The evacuation is basically saying get away from the life-threatening storm surge. So you can go inland, you can be in a structure that can withstand hurricane force winds, and you can ride out the storm, and then you can go back to your home when all is clear. But you don't need to be driving hundreds of miles. If you go to a friend's house, family member, all that's fine. It's just get away from the storm surge. That's the main thing that we're looking at. Now, there will be a 5 o'clock advisory issued by the National Hurricane Center. We anticipate you could see a change in the track and a little movement of the cone. There have been some of these computer models that have been running this afternoon that have pushed the storm a little bit further on a westerly track. And all that means is that the further west it goes, the more it's likely to impact the northern part of Florida. The further east it goes, the more it gets into central Florida. There's still a lot of range of possibilities. Even if you're not in the cone, you can still face major impacts, but we do believe that you may see a track shift at the 5 o'clock advisory from the National Hurricane Center. As of right now, there's a hurricane warning in place for the entire Gulf Coast of Florida from Sarasota County all the way up through Franklin County in northwest Florida. So the impacts potentially can be very far and very wide. We are in a situation where the schools, there's been a number of school closures based on what the local school district, so parents just follow what your local school district is saying. And most of these Gulf counties, you're going to look to see Tuesday and Wednesday will likely be without school, so please just follow through with that. We have a lot of resources staged to be able to respond to the storm. We've got a couple 100,000 gallons of fuel in trucks and tankers that we can bring in if there's interruption in fuel. We have 7 urban search and rescue teams that are ready to deploy to impacted areas. Hopefully there's not going to be people that are going to need to be rescued, but if there are, we're going to have people there. And of course, water, tarps, MREs, all those things that are really important